Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew and today we're going to talk about PlayStation and what I kind of see going on this generation. So, if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. But, I don't know, man. I've been having some interesting conversations, about, PlayStation, having like all these new IPs that they're going to create and, the famous 25 new games for the PlayStation 5. Under my understanding, those 25 games are going to be spaced out across the whole generation. I mean, Sony has... I don't even think Sony has 25 actual teams. Now, they will be third-party games in there. Third-party games that they've actually had, third-party developers build for them. Even let's say this is true. Let's say that they are having 13 new IPs built for them. So, we all know that PlayStation VR 2 is coming out. I would argue that a lot of those titles are going to be PlayStation VR titles and not just mainline titles. This is where Sony, I think, is kind of a little bit... This is where I kind of think they're a little bit in trouble. Because trying to get PSVR 2 out there into the mass market, into the casual space, the console space, is going to require a lot of development, a lot of R&D, a lot of investment into other games to be able to support that platform, because that is a platform all on its own. Now, if they find a way to make dual titles to where you could play them without PSVR and in PSVR, that would probably be the best bang for their buck, seeing as PlayStation VR is still going to be a pretty hard sell. Now, they did do pretty good with PSVR 1, but I mean, let's face it, like, what were most people talking about? Beat Saber. So, in the short run, PlayStation is technically in a little bit of a uncharted waters. just to be clear, like, I like PlayStation and I want PlayStation to succeed. I am definitely excited for what they have to bring this generation. Not only are the games going to look freaking amazing, they're probably going to be some of the best story games that we've played in a long time. I have no doubt that PlayStation is going to be able to do well this generation. Like, I have no doubt in my mind. But when you have Xbox that has finally come to the table and it's like, look, you know what? Our goal at Xbox is to provide as much content for Game Pass as possible. Let that sink in for a minute. That is their goal. They don't care if they sell a bunch of consoles. They really don't. Are they going to sell a bunch of consoles? Yeah, a lot of people are going to buy those. A lot of people are going to, just with the news of Call of Duty going possibly exclusive to Xbox, that's going to move a lot of consoles. And with Xbox having a Series S and a Series X out there for people to buy, that's definitely going to push the Xbox brand into a lot more living rooms than we thought possible. PlayStation is going to revive some of those old IPs, I believe. I'm hoping that they bring back like SOCOM and a few other games from the past. Sly Cooper. Just some of these games that could really help push the PlayStation brand forward. Maybe Jak and Daxter come back. Those are the things that we want to see. We want new IP. Everybody wants new IP, but as you know, new IP is an uncharted territory. That is something that, putting those resources out there, if it doesn't do well, I mean, look at Returnal. Returnal, Sony says, was a success. I don't even know if it's hit 1 million copies yet sold, but let's just take that as a sign to where, does Sony keep playing safe, or do they really try to create new and exciting experiences? I mean, the deck is kind of stacked against them at the moment. What can they do but continue to put out safe games? They don't have the infrastructure that Microsoft has with AI and all of and the cloud services and all of that to be able to, really create worlds that are living and breathing and bigger than we've ever seen before. We're at a point now with Sony where this is a critical crossroad for them. Do they go off into the Nintendo direction, or do they really stand behind their PlayStation brand and really invest money into cloud services and stuff like that? That's the only way to get there. Can they compete with Game Pass? No. There's no way. Xbox having Activision now and all of that IP, there's no way for PlayStation to ever come back and actually have a competitive edge against Game Pass unless they buy like Take-Two Interactive. They would have to buy Take-Two Interactive and EA to even be able to try to compete with that. And as it sits right now, Battlefield 2042 flopped hardcore. Nobody plays it. Nobody likes it. It's not finished. It's buggy. It's broken. It's empty. It's devoid of anything that would make that a Battlefield experience. After the honeymoon phase of Battlefield 2042 wears off, which wears off pretty quickly, you're set. You're stuck with a game that just does not have the. It's going to take a lot of work to fix, and that's not going to be done anytime soon. 2 years maybe we'll get it fixed, but I said so before that I think it is the next Anthem. They're probably going to cut their ties with it and run away from it and move on to something different. They completely messed up. They missed the mark with Battlefield. They overcharged for it. It should have been a free-to-play experience, and they should have found another way to monetize that game right out of the gate. I put my review out for it, and that's basically what I said. PlayStation is definitely in a situation that is going to either push them to fight harder or to I seen PlayStation do this to Nintendo. I seen PlayStation do this to Sega. I don't feel bad for PlayStation. What PlayStation is getting right now is an actual real competitor that is not afraid to go out and buy Activision. That's not afraid to go out and buy Take-Two Interactive. That's not afraid to go buy Ubisoft and put their games on their console. They don't care. Microsoft is fully supporting Xbox. And their ultimate goal is to get as many games and as many people into the gaming sphere as possible. You'll always hear Phil Spencer talking about the mobile gaming and stuff like that. That's where they're trying to be. You hear about Metaverse. You don't hear PlayStation saying anything about any of this stuff. The only thing they're talking about is PSVR 2. Now, yeah, there's a lot of casual gamers out there that love PlayStation and are going to keep buying it. Like, that's fine. That's great. That's exactly what we want, and that's exactly what we need. We need PlayStation to be competitive so that, Microsoft doesn't just completely take over all of gaming. We want PlayStation there. I want PlayStation there. I am not against PlayStation at any way. Just because this is an Xbox channel does not mean that I'm against PlayStation. We got Horizon Forbidden West coming out in a few days. And I am a little worried about the whole checkerboard thing because I don't like it. I think that Sony should have made a console strong enough to run that at 4K at 60 frames a second, because that's all I'm asking for. But I am perfectly okay with a 1440p 60 frames a second, and I wish PlayStation would just add 1440p support to the PlayStation 5 so that I could run it natively on my monitor. I'm fine with that. Is the PlayStation... I just don't believe the PlayStation is a premium console. I mean, the SSD is pretty cool. There's a lot of different things that the SSD can do. It is definitely probably the strongest streaming machine on the planet, and it has a built-in capture card right into the console. So that is great. That is amazing. That is a savings, and it will help you if you want to be a content creator. That's awesome. And if you do have a PlayStation 5, I encourage you to become a content creator. Put out some gameplay videos. Get people excited about gaming again. We have too many fanboy channels out there right now that are constantly just going head to head with each console, man. And it's getting ridiculous. When you got people coming to your streams and spouting nonsense because their best good plastic box isn't doing well. This is not a fanboy channel. I promise you, this is not a fanboy channel. I am just excited for what Microsoft is doing. I am. What they're doing in the gaming space is bringing gaming to a lot more people that just didn't have the ability to do that. And while it might seem altruistic right now, there's plenty of rope for Microsoft to hang himself with this. Do I think that Activision will have new IP anytime soon? Probably not. Is that a bad thing? No, dude. Call of Duty is the #1 selling game out there. out there. Like nothing beats Call of Duty's numbers every year, year after year. So it makes sense to buy a company like Call of Duty, like Activision. Like that makes sense. They get plenty of value out of that, and the name recognition all alone is going to propel Microsoft forward. I do think Sony should buy Square Enix. I do. I do think they should buy Square Enix, and I do think that they should buy other Japanese brands, and there's a reason for that. If Sony has a stranglehold on the Japanese market, then that's good. That's good. In my opinion, that would be good. Now, does it suck that we're not getting those games on Xbox? Yeah, it does. It sucks no matter what. No matter where you stick it, whoever buys whatever developers or whatever publishers or whatever games or whatever IP, yes, that is going to hurt the other side. It sucks, but business is business, and both platforms are vying for space to be there. And me personally, I don't think $1,000 for both consoles is too expensive this generation. I just don't think, like most of us gamers that really care about this stuff are older. We're older. Does PlayStation have a strong enough IP to sustain it like Nintendo? Yeah, it does. It definitely does. And look how well Nintendo is doing. Nintendo is doing well. Does Microsoft have enough IP to sustain it? It does now. It definitely does now. They have more than enough IP to sustain themselves. Do I think they need to buy more? It depends. If they cannot produce a first-party exclusive every single month, yeah, they probably do need to buy more. Should Microsoft stick to buying all the Western studios and Sony stick to buying the Eastern ones? I don't know. I mean, most of these companies probably want to stay independent and make their own stuff and set their own rules and develop what they want to develop. Like, I'm more for that. I hear people saying, oh, Sony should buy Square Enix or Squaresoft or From Software. Maybe, but I don't know if that's the case. I don't think we've had an exclusive Squaresoft game on Microsoft for a while. I think maybe Armored Core exclusive. I don't know. But the point is, these gaming companies are trying to compete. Xbox doesn't compete with PlayStation anymore. Like it's not even, they're not even in competition. That's the thing. If Microsoft decides to buy Activision and put Call of Duty on the PlayStation, it's not going to make me mad. Like, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I'm not going to be upset about it. That's a good thing if they do that. But I don't see that being helpful to their cause in any way whatsoever. If they want people in the Xbox ecosystem and in Game Pass, they need to make those exclusive to Xbox. They need to make those exclusive to Game Pass. Xbox as a console versus PlayStation 5 as a console, whatever. Yeah, of course they obviously compete for market share when it comes to that. Game Pass is the future of gaming. Game Pass is a whole other entity like PSVR is for PlayStation. It's a whole nother ecosystem that people can buy into and experience the Xbox brand without having to fully commit to an Xbox console. Whereas PlayStation 5, you have to buy the console, you have to buy the software, and you have to buy the peripherals like PSVR 2. PlayStation 5 is going to be a more expensive gaming habit this generation, because PlayStation has clearly tried to market PlayStation 5 as a premium experience. And like, don't get me wrong, like, yeah, I do like the 4K UI. Xbox has a 4K UI now too. Sony's is completely changed from the PlayStation 4. Xbox is iterated off of what the Xbox One was at the end of the generation. It consistently keeps moving forward and growing and changing, and I'm fine with that. Like, it is what it is. Like, the UI of my console does not matter to me. And anybody toting the UI, who cares? Literally, who cares? As long as you can find your games and play your games, download things and use the systems that you want to use, it doesn't matter at all. I mean, you're not playing your UI, you're playing your games. When it comes to the controller with the DualSense, yes, I do like the haptic feedback. I don't really care for the triggers much. It feels gimmicky to me. But when we get to the bottom of this, like, every PlayStation game is going to come out at a disadvantage because of, Sony doubling down on the checkerboard rendering. Microsoft will be using AI upscaling in the future. Hopefully by the end of this year, we'll start seeing the Microsoft using that AI upscaling that will the direct ML that will inherently give Microsoft games a huge edge when competing with anything out there on the market. I don't like the way checkerboard looks. I don't like the way it looks in motion. It kind of just, it takes away from that experience from me. And as far as I'm concerned, Horizon Forbidden West is the beginning of the PlayStation generation. That's the beginning for me. Ratchet and Clank was great. It was fine. It was whatever. It definitely showed you what you can kind of expect from PlayStation going forward this generation. And to me personally, I kind of thought that was a weak outing, you know? I mean, if the PlayStation 5 is so powerful, why are we getting 4K checkerboard at 30 frames a second? Like, why are we not being able to get a native resolution on anything on that thing? And it sucks. I mean, don't get me wrong. Insomniac's temporal injection does look a lot better than good old-fashioned checkerboard rendering, which Guerrilla Games, you know, brought to the table. The ones that are making Horizon Forbidden West. I like the temporal injection a lot better. It does look a lot better than the checkerboard rendering for sure. But let's just be honest here. You know, I mean, like, you don't have to be a fanboy. You really don't. Like, you can love PlayStation. You can like PlayStation first-party IP, but to say that is completely better than what anything Xbox is doing, that's just a complete, that's not completely true. Does Xbox need to invest a little more in making the games a little more quality? Like, I don't feel that way. I really don't feel that way, because when I play an Xbox game, I'm more than likely going to get a high resolution at 60 frames a second as opposed to a 4K checkerboard at 30 frames a second. I'm okay with losing a little bit of fur or a little bit of, you know, fine detail to maintain a 60 frames a second as opposed to, you know, a 30 frames a second or 40 frames per second if they enable the 120 hertz mode on the PlayStation. I'm not saying that those are bad things. Those are good. I mean, if you went from a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 4 Pro to a PlayStation 5, like, you're super happy. Like, you're okay. Like, that's not even going to bother you. I mean, me personally, I went from 1X, you know, to Series X to PlayStation 5. And so it's like, oh man, I don't know. I don't see that big of a difference gen over gen. And I mean, people, you can say that all you want about the whole checkerboard rendering thing, but I guarantee you my Red Dead Redemption 2 looks far better on my Series X than your Red Dead Redemption 2 looks on your PlayStation 5. That checkerboard rendering is atrocious, and it's even more prevalent in the games that I've played on my PlayStation 5 that are using checkerboard rendering. It's far more prevalent, and it doesn't hold up anywhere as good as it does on the Series X. Like, it just doesn't hold up. Like, native resolution will always be king, or AI upscaled resolution will always look better than what is inherent with checkerboard rendering. So checkerboard rendering makes trees and everything else look chunky and funky, and it's fuzzy. I call it fuzz K. If you're new to the channel, I call it fuzz K because it's not 4K, it's fuzz K. It looks fuzzy. So if you take a look at, I was playing some Horizon Zero Dawn yesterday. I was live streaming it, and when you look out into the distance and you can see like all the fuzz and all the trees and everything, and I mean that game was beautiful, but for some reason in the daytime it looks atrocious to me now. Like, it doesn't even hold up. And the only thing that I've done was upgrade. I think honestly that 60 FPS it was looking great, and then that 60 FPS patch came out. And now, because of the smoother frame rate and you're getting more pixels on the screen at a time, you're getting twice as many pixels on screen at a time, it kind of tends to make it look a little bit worse, if you ask me. That's just my opinion. But when it comes down to PlayStation having 25 games in the works, somebody on Twitter was trying to tell me that those are for the next 3 years. Sony came out and showed you what they have planned for the next 3 years already. They already showed you that. The only thing they haven't really taken the wraps off is the PSVR support, the games for the PSVR. That's what we haven't seen, and that's what we're probably going to see sooner or later, probably within the next couple weeks. They're going to do another State of the Play for Horizon Forbidden West. We all know they're going to do that. And then they'll probably come out and they'll show us a little bit more of what they've got going on. And then we'll have to wait until the summer to find out what the next big push for the PlayStation is going to be. So as it sits right now, a lot of the titles that are coming to PlayStation are in fact either third party, multi-plat, or or exclusive. And leading the charge with that, I mean, obviously you've got Naughty Dog that's probably working on clearly they're working on remasters of The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2 and that multiplayer thing that they're doing. You got the Days Gone Ben Studio guys that are working on a brand new IP because they won't make a or Days Gone 2. And then you've got, Sony Santa Monica that still hasn't put out God of War. So if their dev cycles are 5 years, guys, if their dev cycles are 5 years, upgrading and remastering games is a lot faster dev cycle than building out a new IP or a new game in general. Like by the time we get God of War Ragnarok, it'll be almost 5 years between the last game and this game. So that just goes to show you. I mean, if you're one of them fanboys that are trying to tote PlayStation and all of that stuff, man, guys, just relax. Just relax. PlayStation knows what they've been doing. They've been doing this for 5 generations. Microsoft is finally standing behind Xbox 100%. So yeah, you're gonna see some acquisitions like this. You're going to see things change in the gaming space like never before. Like you are going to see this behemoth of a company deliver the best value in gaming we've ever seen. Game Pass, like I said, is a completely different entity from Xbox consoles in itself. Xbox consoles are just another way to deliver that experience to you when you don't even need that. So as it sits right now, Xbox is probably going to end up leading this generation forward, as they've been leading for a long time. They've been leading since Xbox One, dude. They started leading with the online. They started leading with the more power and everything else. So yeah, guys, stop hating on Xbox so much. Stop defending PlayStation at every turn. PlayStation did this to Nintendo. PlayStation did this to Sega. It's only evolution that we're looking at right now. We are looking at an evolution of gaming that Microsoft and their idea is far more exciting than another one and done game from PlayStation. In my honest opinion, that's my honest opinion. To be able to get constant gaming value on a Game Pass subscription monthly to where you can play as much as you want. Like, I don't understand why anybody out there is not excited for what Game Pass is going to offer. And buying these companies like Activision is only going to make Game Pass better and more valuable and a better experience for you overall. So if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you don't agree with what I said, please be respectful in the comments, man. We're grown adults. We can talk about the gaming space like grown adults. And yeah, be nice to the other people there. And you Xbox guys, be nice to the PlayStation guys, and you PlayStation guys, be nice to the Xbox guys. And yeah, memberships are active on this channel. So if you want to be a member, go ahead and hit that join button. And yeah, let's keep making this channel grow, and let's support gaming as we go. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.